Hey you guys, Rex Branson here. I want to welcome you guys to this edition of Woodcarver's Corner. We had some requests after I was showing the driftwood horsehead video about the wine holding guys that I had showed. You guys might remember this wine holder guy here. And of course, this one hangs on the wall and the wine bottle fits in here like this. So I decided, well, heck, we'll do a video on a wine holder in driftwood like this. And of course, every piece of driftwood is so different that you're not going to find any two of these alike because none of the driftwood's alike. So we're going to do this video a little bit different with you guys this time too. We're actually going to take you down to the storage building area where I got a lot of my wine rack things that I've carved over the last few years. And we're going to take you guys on a little wine tour. But we'll get started on this project here, and then we're going to take you on a tour of the wine guys, I'm going to call them. So this is going to be our project. Okay, here's another kind of a wine guy, except this piece of driftwood didn't actually have enough room to get the bottle through, but people still like this. You might call these a spirit vase or a green man. People call them green men. I call them wine guys because I got the grapes and stuff on there. But I'm going to kind of walk you guys through. For instance, here's my blank. This might look a little bit familiar to you guys. Remember when we done the horsehead video? Well, this is a horsehead that I had sawed out already, but I already have probably 20 horseheads carved, and I didn't really need any more horseheads, but I've been selling these type of wine guys. And I thought, well, heck, let's shoot a video and I'll carve another one of these wine guys. So, I'm going to get my drawing pad up here first and give you guys just a little example of where I'm going with this. We're going to turn a horse head into a wine guy, so to speak. And of course, again, we're using this red cedar driftwood, which you guys saw from the previous videos when I was using it. It doesn't carve very well at all, but I couldn't get to my driftwood pile. My bark pile and everything is covered with snow. So that's why I'm using this. But my intentions here, you guys, and I'm just kind of giving you a little example of what's going on. And of course, this is the old horse head sticking down here like that. So my intentions, I'm going to do some leaf things in here. You know, various, and we'll try to make them look more grape leaves by putting some niches. Grape leaves has 2 or 3 niches in the leaves, so we'll do some of that. Over on this area, I got enough wood here that looks like a clump of grapes to me in this area, so we'll do a clump of grapes over in here. I know my drawing isn't very good, but doesn't matter. We're just, this is what you might call mapping in and planning, and then we're going to taste this wood to see how it carves a little bit too. But I got an area here where there's going to be a leaf hanging down or something. I might even clean off right up in here and do a leaf. But my idea is, see where this line right here on the old horse head was behind the jaw? That's going to be a hairline across here. So this guy's hair will go flowing up, you know, wherever it goes with the driftwood here. And then, of course, just back to a spirit face, which is going to end up being my brow line here. I'll probably have him smiling, you guys. So anytime I'm doing a guy that's smiling, I like to try to keep this rolling effect. For instance, I'll pull in on his temples a little bit, but I'll bring these his smile line out like this more, out like this more. And instead of covering this area up with a mustache down here, I think we'll go with a smile, and we might even end up with some teeth in there. We're not going to commit to any of this down in here yet. I will be carving, his eyes will be sitting in these areas eventually, and we will end up trying to do him some eyes where he's more smiley looking in here. And we won't continue on with our drawing much more other than just showing you guys what I got. So, two things let's talk about. Let's get our bottle of wine here. Now, I drilled through this driftwood here the other day and knocked this hole in there, and this got this crotch in the fork right there. So this bottle fits in there fairly decently. I might do a little niche more to where it wouldn't slide out the back, but this is kind of what I got in mind, and I just showed you what I got in mind here. So what I'm going to do for just a little bit is do some tasting on this wood. You might notice these dark streaks right here. They were some cracks that were in the wood already, and I soaked some super glue down them in hopes that maybe the wood would stay fairly stable. I've not carved much on this piece of wood already, so I don't know how it's going to carve. It's not that good deep purple wood like I'd like to have it be. I'm going to knock a pretty good chunk right here off the side of where his forehead and stuff's eventually going to be. And we're just tasting the wood. I'm getting a feel for how that grain, see, this starts to split on these roots up here. So this grain is going two different directions, which is going to make it a little tough for me. You can see right there, this is not going to be, let's say, carver-friendly piece of wood. I can tell you that right off the bat. But, you know, over my 40 years of wood carving or more, I've tackled a lot of unfriendly carving woods, trust me. And I've carved every kind of wood you can think of over the years. Well, guys, already I don't really care for this piece of driftwood because it has grain going every which way. You can almost see where this little crack here in the middle is actually splits. The wood grain goes one way and then it goes up here into a burl. So this is probably going to be a little difficult to get this wine guy in here. But like I just said before, I don't know how many times I've ran into difficulties on things. So here's what I got in mind. I'm going to bring his eyebrows somewhere across here. I'm going to try to keep his nose over to the side of this little crack that's coming up here. So let's say his nose probably going to come over in this area a little bit more. And of course, eventually his eyes, you know, in this area, in this area. We're early on, we just started carving. Eventually his cheeks here, here, and then of course his mouth and his smile across there. Now, I'm going to set up a clump of grapes up into here somewhere. Two things already. I did not like the way that wood was let's say, tasting, so to speak, up in there. Let me get a V-tool here. And the fact that it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to start with putting a bunch of little squares here first. Notice here I'm mapping kind of little squares, little areas, and I'm going to do that all over this area here. And then to round these will be my grapes. And to round them out, eventually I'm going to take a number 7 or a number 9, which has a little more curve to it, upside down, and as I map them out, I'll round them out like that right there. And there's one grape going right there. As you can imagine, it's probably going to take me a good hour to get this whole clump of grapes going here. This right up in here is going to be a leaf, you guys, but I can tell you already just by looking at it, that darn area, the wood's going every which direction. So it's not going to be carver friendly. Very hard, very, very hard. But that's going to be a leaf sticking down here. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and draw it. It'll probably be hanging down on his forehead right in here. A grape leaf right there. The center of it being right here. Type of thing. Probably another leaf right beside it, right here. And leave the tip of it hanging down on his forehead a little. So there's going to be 2 leaves right in here. Clump of grapes over in here. And I may end up with a little clump or a few grapes up in here. I don't have a lot of wood back up in here. Now, I will tell you guys about carving on roots like this. I ran my gouge the other day when I was going through here trying to get this to get the wine bottle to fit. I actually ran my gouge into a rock that was grown into that root. And I'll show you right here. See that rock hidden in there? Well, a lot of times on driftwood, when you're mapping in, you might really want to check it out because that one was actually grown into the wood. I told you guys early on in the video that we were going to take a little wine guy tour. So we're going to break the carving up and we're going to take you on this tour. And I'll start with this wine rack holder. This is one that I done. It's kind of me and Vicky, so to speak. We're having a cup of wine. And this thing will hold 7 bottles of wine. One here. One here. 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 And finally here. And notice how, you guys, I had carved all of the vines, all of the grapes, and everything here. And I've taken the vines around and got a tree, well, a vine coming up the back. And look here where I've went through every one of the leaves and stuff. So you can actually see the bottle through these areas, see, in there. This was a piece of basswood, and I had glued it up. It was 3 4x10s, and I glued them up, and this is what I carved out of it. Basswood is really a good choice. For instance, the grapes and stuff carved beautifully in this piece. But Stay tuned with us here, you guys, because we're fixing to take you down to the storage shed, and we're going to show you a bunch of wine rack holders that I've carved like this. So stick with us. Here we go. Well, guys, we come down here by the storage shed because I had a bunch of wine guys in storage, and I wanted to take you guys on a bit of a wine guy tour down here with some of the finished ones. So we'll go through them here. I done a series of wine guys where it was just a log, and I drilled holes. This one holds 3 bottles of wine, see? And so this is one of them I done. I named a bunch of them. This one's called Wise Vineyard Keeper. And I have not finished putting the finish antiquing, let's say, over this one. But there's an example for you. Here's another one in the log type series where I just used, now I had a whole bunch of butternut logs one time about this big around. They wasn't very big around. But I was on this wine guy kick, and now this one you might have noticed that I used some color and paint on, and this one also holds 3 bottles of wine. One goes here, one down here. So these guys could be useful in your wine room or wine tasting area, wherever, you know. So I'll continue on and show you some more wine guys. Now this one's another one in the log series. I was telling you I had a whole bunch of butternut logs. And this one I went to a little more of an extent with him. I went through the curls on his beard. And of course this one just holds 2 bottles. One down here and then one at the top. I got to where I was doing that quite often too. Actually, I was carving a bunch of these to get ready for a wine show that was going to take place up at Aspen, and it ended up snowing that weekend real bad, and I couldn't make it up to the show, so I still have a lot of wine guys. I also done a series of wall hangings, and of course this one holds 1 bottle of wine here, like this. And of course it hangs on the wall, and I got 2 hangers on the back, so it would be fairly solid. Plus you might notice that I hollowed the back out. It's almost a mask, to where this thing only weighs maybe 4 to 5 pounds now. So that's one of them. The other guy like him I carved is here. Except notice, he holds 2 bottles of wine. He holds one there, and of course one over here. And he's the same way. He hangs on the wall, and I done differently. I came through here on him. So, you know, I was trying to change them up where they weren't all just exactly alike. I'd also, you guys, had done a whole series of full-figured wine guys, little wine guys. This one, he holds not only a bottle up here like this, but he holds a bottle here like that. He also, oh, I think it comes from, oh, it goes this way. Bottle here, and then one below it down here. And so this guy holds 4 different bottles of wine, and I didn't use any color on some of them because I always wanted people to have a choice whether they wanted color on them or not. So I've done several with and without color. Now this one is in the full figured series. I haven't got any finish on it yet, but he has a little different approach. The bottle fits in here like that, and of course I've got all the grapes carved here, but now on the back of him I also carved all of the grapes and the leaves on the back. Well, I was going to point out a couple of things about this one. Is the guy actually has got the wine over his shoulder here in this position. But also, I wanted you guys to notice that I have carved leaves and grapes all over the back of this one too. I tell you what, over this series of me doing these wine guys, I've literally carved hundreds and hundreds of grapes. And you get to where you get pretty good at it because you can square them out in little squares and then take a round gouge upside down and round them out. And so, anyway, I just wanted to point out that I've been carving the backs of some of these too. Now this one has just a plain basswood finish with some polyurethane on it, and it was in a series I was doing where they're riding the wine bottle, and of course they're little Bacchus guys, let's call them, or Dionysus, whoever these wine drinking guys are. Now this one is a lot like him. I carved, it's in butternut. I'll get this up here where we can look at it. Now, he's a little different. I got the wine bottle where it fits in over here on him, like that. And now he is a vineyard keeper guy. And he's having a cup of wine there. And I also carved all of the features on the back of him, too. I guess I should have showed you that on this guy, is that I carved all the features on the back, the grapes, the leaves, and of course the wine bottle sets in here. It could actually go through this way with the neck out the back, either way. But that was kind of a series of guys that I was working on. Had a good time with it. This guy's name is Luigi, and he actually was one of the very first wine guys that I did. He got rained on one time and his finish got kind of a little messed up, so I need to totally redo his finish. But he holds about 6 or 7 bottles of wine. Here's one, here's one, here's one. There. Here's one here. And one over here. And also one in the back of his head. So Luigi is out of catalpa wood, which if you guys have carved much catalpa, you realize it carves okay, but it's not really the best for fine detail. And so him being the first of a whole series of wine guys, I had my troubles carving grapes on him. But this one some of these I've actually chosen to keep myself. So this is, since he was the first one, I'm keeping this one, I think. But there's Luigi, and of course, I think you guys maybe saw the back, but I've got him carved all the way around and all. He was quite a fun project. And this thing he's got in his hand is a grape cutting tool that they cut the grapes off the vines with. So anyway, that's Luigi. There he is. Now this is one of the guys that I actually carved for competition one time. I think I dated him at 2013 or 15. So it's been a while back, but I done this guy for competition. He holds about 8 bottles. Here one goes here. Here's one actually here. He's got, in the grapevines that's in the back, he's got one here. He got one in a quiver over here over his shoulder like that. This one sits in here and one here. And there's also another hole in the back. So he holds 7 bottles of wine. And like I said, I carved him several years ago. And I tried to do a halfway decent job on this one because I was putting him in competition. So you guys might notice that I carved all the leaves, all the grapes, all the vines, everything. I actually spent, I'm going to say 3 months off and on this piece. It's kind of weird the way I carve from time to time, because I'll start something and it may be 2 or 3 years later when I finish it. I may just work on it a little at a time. And of course, as many grapes and stuff as this guy has, you can see, it just took forever. But also I done bare anatomy, bare chest on him and all. So this is Bacchus. I don't normally put paint on too many carvings, but this one I couldn't hardly resist because it kind of tells a story. This wine rack, it holds 14 bottles of wine, and it's fairly heavy. It's a piece of basswood that I glued up, and then I carved it all as one piece. And the story kind of starts out, they got the wine press down at the bottom, and of course you see the holes for the wine in between up through here, various places here and up here. All right, this guy's cutting grapes, and he's passing them down. You get to look, and he's passing them down to this guy. And of course this guy's sitting here eating a sandwich, and this guy down here, he's pulling grapes down and putting them in a basket down below. These guys look more or less like they're loafing off up here. I'm not sure what they're doing, but bottle fits up here too. This guy, he's cutting grapes and handing them down to this guy. And of course these bottles fit all the way down through here too. Then we got a guy around here with a wheelbarrow with grapes in it. And of course there's holes on this, and on all 4 sides of this thing there's holes for the bottles. And this guy's got some grapes here. So anyway, I done this one, I think in, well, there's the date down there, 2013 when I carved this one, 10 years ago. Like I said, I don't normally paint, but at the time I was doing this for myself too, and having a good time with the whole. I went through about a 5-year period of messing with all these grape guys and wine guys that we just took this wine tour of. We'll get back to our carving up there in a little while, but I sure hope you guys have enjoyed this tour of the wine guys that I've done over the years. Well, I just wanted to catch you guys up on where I was with this. You can see I started laying in some of the grapes here yesterday a little bit, and I got the face started to lay out in here. I got a little bit of a heavy smile line going on. I decided I don't really like the whole overall shape of the thing because it kind of gives him this horns look. So he's taking on a little bit of a devilish look. But I do like the fact that our wine bottle fits in there fairly decent. Let's get her in here and see how it's going to fit. It sits in there fairly well, and I think everything's going to hang on the wall. So for me to continue on here, really, all I'm going to do is put some eyes on these mounds that I got started here, here, and here. The sun's coming in the window a little bit odd. I hope you guys can even see what I'm talking about here. And I'm thinking about possibly opening this mouth up just a little bit. I'd thought about putting some teeth here, but then I thought that would make it even look more evil if I put teeth, so I decided not to do that. As far as this beard goes, I want to throw some curlicues in this beard. The curlicues, I'm going to use a number 9 and a number 7 and start putting one against another one here. I mentioned when we were carving yesterday on this little bit that this wood is exceptionally hard, and it is not carver friendly because I was having a heck of a time getting this face in there. But see, that throws a little curve here, and then if I can work away from it a little bit like this, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with this vise, possibly. But here's one, and I'll put several in this beard, possibly one over here. I'm using that number 9. Always working away from what I'm doing. I'm not working directly in because that'll all just fall right off there, chip off with this real stringy, grainy cedar. Now, I was tempted to use power. A lot of people use power, but I'll tell you with this red cedar, the reason not to be using much power unless you have a good mask, unless you're outside, or unless you have a system to pull the dust down and out of your way, is red cedar. They use it in cedar chests, and it has a certain amount of arsenic in the wood. And so I've learned over the years of messing with red cedar that you don't want to breathe a lot of that red cedar dust just because it's not good for you. That's the reason they use it in cedar chests, because the bugs won't get in there because they don't like that arsenic either. But this is kind of quick little, just to show you that I'm going to start throwing some directionals in this beard, get some of these curls started. This is one of those situations where 4, 5, or 6 looks pretty good. But if you go getting too many of them, then it's too many. So as I'm laying these curls in, I'm going to do 2 or 3 down in here. As I'm laying them in, I'll start getting some depth around them. And I thought maybe the curly beard might help him look a little bit more friendly. And I will end up putting some eyebrows up here eventually. This is unfortunately right in a transition of a knot across here, but I'll put some eyebrows in up here. And I'm going to take a V-tool and start working his eyes in. I'm going to put some veining down these. This is going to be a leaf, and this is a leaf here where I drew these veins. I'll put some little veinings in there, some niches in the corners. I think this is even going to be a leaf right here. That'll be the center of it, and then of course some veinings in here. Other than that, I'm going to do some cleaning up. This is going to be a leaf here too on the top of the, it'll have a center part coming down and then some deals like that on it. So basically this is your green man type guy, other than he's got some grapes, and we're trying to incorporate it in with the wine bottle and all in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the eyes and these curls in the beard, and possibly depth in the mouth a little bit, and of course clean up the forehead just a little bit. Basically be done with this particular project. Like I said, this was not a real favorable piece of wood for this, but then it's the one we had for this project. So I'm going to work on it and I'll show you what I got. Well, I just wanted to show this to you guys. I got the grapes all done, got the curls in the beard, and went ahead and sanded it, got my leaves done. But I am going to add some color on the grapes, and I'm going to add some color on these leaves right here. So I just wanted you guys to see it before I fooled around and ruined it with some color, so to speak. I'm not the best painter in the world, but since this is a wine guy, we'll probably add some color on the grapes and the leaves. Hey you guys, I got the paint on and painted the grapes, and I went ahead and put I used the wipe-on polyurethane satin on the peas. My wine bottle fits in there perfectly, and I got my hangers on the back. And I tried it on the wall, and it looks fairly decent. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed the wine rack tour that we took you on with all the wine guys. And I know we didn't spend a lot of time on the carving part of all of this, but then again, we were trying to keep the video short. I also hope you guys, if you liked the video and you like to see some of the carvings that we showed you, we have a lot more really good carvings that we intend to show you guys on Woodcarver's Corner of various kinds. So hit that like button and subscribe, because if you'd like to keep seeing film on wood carving, then we've got some really good ones for you. So we want to thank you for joining us with this edition of Woodcarver's Corner.